All right, finally managed to deliver. I'm glad I made it in time for this mince delivery. My name is Maggie. Since I was a child, I've loved drawing in sketchbooks with crayons and colored pencils, and that hobby has continued into my adulthood. When I was a student, I worked part-time drawing illustrations, which has become the foundation for my current career. Now, I'm enjoying a freelance life, drawing illustrations at my own pace. In addition to illustrations, I also create small comics depicting the daily lives of modern women in fashion magazines. I've heard encouraging words from my editor, like, "Maggie's drawings get a lot of positive reactions from our readers." And through this job, I met my current husband. He held an important position at a major publishing company I was associated with, and initially, our relationship was strictly professional. However, as we worked together, we grew closer. We bonded over shared past experiences, like losing our fathers at an early age. Before we knew it, we were going out for meals and movies together. After one such meal, he confessed his feelings, and we started dating. I had never dated anyone before, so I lacked confidence at first. "Really? You like someone like me? I don't stand out, and I'm just a bit better at drawing than the average person." "That's not true. You're really talented, Maggie, and I love the way you utilize that talent to the fullest." His kind words made my heart flutter. After dating for several years, we decided to get married. After getting married, we enjoyed our newlywed life for a while. Both my husband and I were then approaching 30. I wondered if it was better to have children sooner rather than later. Then, one day, my husband proposed that we live with his mother. I was initially surprised, but I had always yearned for happy family moments since I grew up in a single-parent household after losing my father early on. So, I looked forward to living with my mother-in-law. "Maggie, I have something to discuss. Actually, my mother wants to live with us. What do you think?" "Really? Hasn't your mother always lived alone at her place?" "Yes. She must have her own reasons for wanting this." I was surprised she brought it up to us, newlyweds, but I want to understand her feelings. I hadn't interacted much with my mother-in-law. The only occasions I could do so were during our wedding and other formal occasions. From the start, she seemed very warm and approachable. Her smile and kindness reassured me. My mother has been feeling lonely living by herself. I used to visit frequently, but I've been too busy recently. That must be hard for her. But if she wants to live together, it may be fun living together under one roof. "Really?" "Of course. I don't mind, and I'm looking forward to it." "Thank you, Maggie. That really helps." So, we decided to live with my mother-in-law. My husband was pleased with my decision, and our new life as a family of 3 began. "Maggie, what's your favorite food? I want to make something special for you." "Thank you, mother-in-law. Let me help you with it." "It's fine, Maggie. You relax here." Our cohabitation was going smoothly. My mother-in-law took care of most household chores. I was really grateful for her support, especially because I was exhausted from work. One day, my husband dropped a bombshell. "Maggie, this might come as a shock, but I've been transferred to another region." "What? Really?" I was filled with confusion and anxiety at the sudden news of his transfer. Considering our recent cohabitation, I wondered how this would affect my relationship with my mother-in-law. I thought about ending our living arrangement but couldn't ask my mother-in-law due to the unavoidable nature of the transfer. I also pondered moving with him, but staying in the city was more convenient for my job. "Thanks, Maggie. If you ever have concerns about living with my mother, let me know." I remember feeling a bit relieved by his words. "Thank you, I understand." In the end, I decided to continue living with my mother-in-law, but this decision might have been a bit hasty. At first, our cohabitation was harmonious. We respected each other's preferences and shared household chores. However, after living together for a short while, my mother-in-law began to change her attitude towards me. She assumed I wasn't doing anything. "Maggie, shouldn't you help out a bit more around the house?" "I'm sorry, I'm quite busy right now. I'm working on this tablet." "You say such things, but you're just holed up in the house doing nothing." Even if you draw on that thing, there's no way you can make money from it. No, actually, I work using this tablet, and I support our household with my income. I've explained many times that I work from home, but my mother-in-law didn't believe me. She misunderstood me as a freeloader and asked me to help around the house. I intend to help with household chores as much as I can, but I'm busy with work and can't always help. So I contribute by putting at least $3,000 from my income into the household every month. That's the money my son is giving you, isn't it? There's no way you can pay that amount yourself. No, that's not the case. I tried to explain again, but my mother-in-law wouldn't accept what I said. Despite explaining multiple times that I was contributing a significant amount from my income even though I couldn't help more with the chores, she continued to ignore my words. It was futile, no matter how politely I tried to explain. As time went on, her attitude towards me hardened and she began to berate me. She has never worked since getting married. She occasionally goes out shopping or for lunch with friends, but primarily stays home. Despite this, she was relentless in demanding that I help more around the house, even when I was working hard to support the family. As a result, it sometimes affected my work and caused inconveniences to my colleagues. Under these circumstances, it became difficult for me to maintain credibility and continue working. I needed to find a solution. Then, one day, while I was working in my room, my mother-in-law called out, "Maggie, come to the living room for a moment." I headed to the living room, tablet in hand, to find not only my mother-in-law but also my brother-in-law and his wife, still holding that tablet. "What are you doing?" Drawing." "Maggie, you still love drawing even as an adult, huh?" My brother-in-law, whose demeanor and attitude were the polar opposite of mine, remarked sarcastically. He was always self-centered, and we've had many clashes even before my marriage, probably because of this. "I'm actually working on this tablet right now." "Work? You're just doodling, right?" LOL. My sister-in-law, with her usual domineering attitude, always looked down on me and threw snide remarks. "No, I'm drawing as a job. We heard from our mother that you can't do household chores or work properly. So, can't you just leave this house? From now on, we're going to live with Mom." They ridiculed and berated me. My mother-in-law looked pleased with the scene. It hurts to be treated this way by family. Since I had urgent work to do, I needed to focus on my tasks. But my mother-in-law didn't like my attitude. "Why are you ignoring me? How rude, especially with that tablet." She yelled. "Wait, mother-in-law, what are you?" Suddenly, she snatched the tablet from me and slammed it on the floor. Why would you do that?" To add insult to injury, my brother-in-law and his wife gleefully stomped on the tablet. The tablet screen cracked in several places, and it wouldn't even turn on. Holding the broken tablet, I was shocked to realize I couldn't continue my work. I tried several times, suppressing my anger to restart my work, but the tablet wouldn't revive. This incident made me realize that continuing to live with my mother-in-law was no longer feasible. So, I shared the incident over the phone with my husband. He was silent for a while, presumably in shock, but then repeatedly apologized. I didn't intend to blame my husband, but I was moved to tears by his kindness. When I told him that I wanted to live with him and not at his parents' house, he was happy. I had previously been worried about living in a remote location due to his transfer, but now I felt that being with him was more important. After deciding to move out, I immediately started preparing to relocate. But during this busy time, a surprising event occurred. Suddenly, my mother-in-law, brother-in-law, and his wife came to see me. Why are you here all of a sudden?" "I'm quite busy right now," I exclaimed in surprise. "Maggie, we heard you've been contributing $3,000 monthly. We're truly sorry about the other day. We didn't know until our son told us. We had no idea you were contributing so much." I could sense my mother-in-law's intentions. "I've told you this before. Anyway, I've decided to move out and live with my husband. Perhaps they realized that without me, they would lose the monthly financial support." "Maggie, don't say things like that. Let's all build a warm family together. Mother-in-law says if you leave, we have to pay $3,000. That's unbelievable. The reason Maggie got angry and left is because you broke that tablet, right? What are you talking about? It was Mom who broke the tablet first. Besides, all this happened because of Mom's misunderstanding. That's right. It's not Mother-in-law's fault. Maggie doesn't do housework or work. She just stays in her room all the time. In fact, it wasn't Maggie who was contributing money to the household. An argument started between my mother-in-law, brother-in-law, and his wife. For me, this argument was very bothersome. Without paying any attention to my mother-in-law, as I continued with my moving preparations, adding insult to injury, she said, "Maggie, I have a favor to ask. Without $3,000, we can't make ends meet. Even if you move to my son's place, won't you continue to send us living expenses?" She looked apologetic. Why would I give money to dissolve our cohabitation? I chuckled a bit. Don't say things like that. What should I do from now on? My mother looked troubled. That's absolutely impossible. I shook my head. I don't have any money. Huh? I was putting $3,000 into the household every month, right? I thought that was more than enough for living expenses. After a moment of silence, my mother-in-law confessed, "I spent the money at a nightclub." I was lost for words. "You went to a nightclub? Mom, are you out of your mind?" My brother-in-law also angrily retorted, "Please, can you support my nightclub expenses? After losing my husband, I've been trying so hard to live by myself. You can sympathize with me, right?" My mother-in-law looked like she was about to cry. "Absolutely not." I sighed deeply. My sister-in-law nodded in agreement. My mother-in-law's shoulders dropped. She was probably shocked at the idea of stopping her visits to the nightclub. However, I had no intention of helping her. "Maggie, I'm sorry for the trouble my mother caused. Let's get along from now on." My brother-in-law apologized. "That's impossible. I don't want to live with her and her family." But I firmly refused. After that, I started a peaceful life at the new location where my husband was transferred to. Now, we are enjoying our days in a serene town, and I can work peacefully. During this time, a thought suddenly crossed my mind: the bomb that I had left at my in-laws' place. Just as I was wondering about it, I received a call from my mother-in-law. "Oh, mother-in-law, what's the matter?" "Maggie, what's the deal with the comic you drew?" "Eh? What about the comic I drew?" "You know, the comic you drew is all about our family, right?" Maybe it was. Apparently, the comic drew caused a big uproar at my in-laws' house. It realistically depicted the treatment and words I received from my mother-in-law and the couple, and it seemed to resonate with people of my generation. Although I changed the names of the characters, some relatives knew I was a comic artist, and someone apparently realized it was about my in-laws. My brother-in-law, his wife, and mother-in-law seem to be under fire right now. "Because of you, Maggie, everyone knows our secrets. What should we do?" "But aren't secrets like this bound to come out eventually? Now, how can we face everyone?" They even found out I was going to a nightclub. It might be difficult, but please resolve it yourself. How cruel. Feeling a bit refreshed at my mother-in-law's outcry over the phone, I learned that the family faced many difficulties afterward. Due to the contents of my comic, angry relatives gathered at my in-laws, and it was revealed that my mother-in-law had spent a lot of money at the nightclub and was in debt. The debt was so massive that she couldn't repay it by herself. My in-laws had to sell their house to repay the debt, and my mother-in-law started living with my brother-in-law and his wife. It seems she started a part-time job to repay the debt, but it was a tough situation. My brother-in-law and his wife, already struggling financially, faced even more challenges living with my mother-in-law. Eventually, my sister-in-law couldn't take it anymore and left the house after an affair, leaving my brother-in-law deeply depressed. Although I feel sympathy, I can't help but think they brought it upon themselves. As for us, we are enjoying our new life in the countryside. Shortly after moving here, we were blessed with our long-awaited baby. Initially, I was anxious about moving from the city to the countryside. but this area, blessed with beautiful nature, has become an ideal living environment. With the stress gone, we are enjoying a comfortable life. Furthermore, my previous comic was well received, leading to a new fashion magazine job, so both my personal and professional lives are progressing smoothly. I can't help but feel grateful to my mother-in-law and her family for the opportunity to move forward. My name is Lucy. Currently, I live with my husband, Alex, in the same house with his parents. We bought this house 3 years after we got married, but soon after we moved in, Alex's parents suddenly showed up saying, "We can't thank you enough for buying a house for us." They brought a lot of luggage, and there was even a moving truck parked behind. As I stood there in shock, Alex nonchalantly walked past me and said, "Dad, Mom, I've been waiting. Come in." Alex's mother said to me, "Lucy, we're counting on you from now on," and proceeded into the house. However, seeing the amount of their luggage, I felt they intended to live here, so I quickly asked Alex, "What's going on?" In response to my question, Alex said, "What's so strange? We bought this house to live with my parents, so I brought them here." I was shocked. I had once mentioned the possibility of living with my parents to Alex, but I had never touched on the subject of living with his parents. Moreover, why did the situation of living with his parents suddenly arise? I was terribly confused. Living with my parents was also a plan for the future, not something immediate. And why did Alex invite his parents without discussing it with me? I asked Alex this when I saw his parents starting to bring their luggage into the room. He seemed to understand that he hadn't discussed living together with me, scratching his cheek and saying, "Well, if we're going to live together, I'd rather it be with my own parents. Otherwise, wouldn't your parents take over this place?" I was so surprised that I just replied, "Huh?" When I had talked about living with my parents, he had agreed. But perhaps he had agreed then just to avoid a confrontation with me. And by inviting his parents first, he prevented my parents from moving in. What are you really thinking? You agreed before when I said my parents would eventually live with us, but now you suddenly brought your own parents. Are they really going to live here? I've been thinking a lot too, but you didn't wait for my response and rushed for an answer, so I couldn't say no at that moment. I didn't rush you at all. I just asked for your opinion. I wanted to live with my parents. Then you should have made that clear when I brought up the topic of living together. Stop acting like a child. Living with Alex, I've realized that he has a very childlike personality. Whenever I do something, he comes over curious, asking, "What are you doing?" Maybe children are easier to deal with. If a child shows interest in household chores, you can suggest, "Want to try?" and they might engage. But Alex asserts, housework is not a man's job. I thought that dealing with a childish adult might be more troublesome than an actual child. Apparently overhearing our argument, my mother-in-law started keeping my distance, advising, "Lucy, you might feel dissatisfied over trivial matters between husband and wife, but some compromise is necessary." I sensed a demand in her words. My in-laws seem to view me merely as an appendage to their son. If they think I'm just an accessory making a fuss about not wanting to live together, her behavior makes sense. From my perspective, Alex is the accessory, but they don't seem to see it that way. My mother-in-law was eager to help with household chores, but their attitude was grating on my nerves. This situation continued, and as I pondered how to respond to their attitude, Alex's sister, Kate, visited. Kate is 5 years younger than me, already married 3 times and currently living with a new husband. When I returned home, Kate was already there. "Welcome back, Lucy. I heard about it. You stood up to my brother and tried to kick our parents out of this house," she said. I was shocked and looked sharply at Alex sitting beside me. Why would Alex tell such a lie? Is it to make me look like the enemy? Alex wilted under my gaze, averting his eyes. If he feels awkward, he shouldn't have chosen words that blame me in the first place. Then Kate, who had been observing, stood up as if to protect Alex. "Lucy, if you're going to make such a face, please leave. Just as I heard, you are a demon wife. It's bad for prenatal education to have you around." Being suddenly told to leave, I was confused about which part of the house she was referring to. For a moment, I thought she wanted me to leave Alex's room where he was enjoying conversation with his sister, but that didn't seem to be Kate's intention. She stroked her belly and said, "I'm planning to give birth in my hometown. So, Lucy, I don't want you in the house. At least until my child comes into this world." Confused, I replied, "What do you mean?" "Wow, Lucy, that face is scary. No wonder my brother avoids you. You might be close to getting divorced." Kate was teasing me with a smirk on her face. When I looked towards Alex, he was avoiding my gaze, looking down. Even if the other person is a dear sister, anyone would stop her from criticizing their wife. However, just as Kate pointed out, maybe Alex is getting tired of me. But being told such things, my interest in him also wanes. I can't forgive him for inviting his parents to live with us without my permission and for speaking ill of me to his parents and sister. His attitude seemed to belittle me. Why should I continue to treat such a person with affection? I felt my feelings for him growing cold. And since there was no room decided, I'll be using your room. Please organize your belongings. Now, big brother, say something too. It's been hard for you because of the demon wife, right? Alex hung his head at Kate's words but stood up, pulled up by her forceful hand. Prompted by her, he gave a strained smile and said, "My important sister is going to give birth here, so we don't need you. You can sleep on the streets or something." Reflecting on the 3 years of marriage, I took a deep breath and replied, "All right." Kate exclaimed with joy, raising both hands. "Really? I'm so happy." Alex let out a sigh of relief, as I didn't respond with anger. However, in my heart, I decided to give appropriate punishment to Alex, Kate, and my in-laws. One evening, during a family dinner, I presented Alex with divorce papers. His face was a picture of surprise. "Sign the divorce papers. You want me to leave this house, right? If you don't sign, I'll stay here." "If that's the case, big brother, why don't you sign?" But in the end, I think Lucy won't file them. I often use that trick too. Get them to sign, and if you don't want to divorce, just follow along. It seemed Kate had used these papers in the past to manipulate situations to her advantage. Such a person is bound to be divorced, I thought, but she seemed oblivious. Alex, accepting Kate's suggestion, signed the divorce papers without hesitation. It bothered me that he misunderstood my intention, thinking I presented the papers just as a threat. Normally, such documents aren't presented without the intention to divorce. However, getting his signature so easily made me feel a bit lighter. Now, I could take full revenge on them. The divorce was finalized, and I promptly organized my belongings. At that time, Kate was back home, confirming her plans for childbirth. Hence, she said she didn't intend to come to the house until my belongings were properly stored and the room was cleaned. As a result, I was diligently packing up after returning from work. In the meantime, I found and signed a lease for an apartment suitable for singles and began the process of selling the house. After moving my necessary belongings to the new apartment, I visited my in-laws' house. There, I found Alex, Kate, and my in-laws, all 4 of them together. Knowing that my father-in-law and Alex would be off work that day, and that my mother-in-law and Kate didn't work, I decided to visit when all of them were present. My sudden visit surprised all 4 of them. Moreover, when I arrived, 3 of them, except Kate, seemed to have been enjoying alcohol since the afternoon. In their presence, Alex was saying, "Lucky that woman left. She thought if she got angry, everything would go as she wanted. She acted so arrogantly, troubling me." My mother-in-law responded, "Indeed, Lucy had a somewhat difficult personality." The reason I was angry with Alex was that he started living with his parents and even made me leave the house for his sister, all without discussing it with me. I was angry because of his unreasonable actions. However, it seems within the in-laws family, I am somehow perceived as the bad one. Listening further, remember the girl I introduced earlier? It seems he started dating her, but she's a better match than the previous sister-in-law, right? I think a more adorable woman suits my brother better. they discussed his shocking affair. If their relationship started a week ago, that was when I was already proceeding with the divorce, so I guess it won't be an issue of infidelity. But still, his actions infuriated me. I briskly opened the room door and checked the faces of the chatting in-law family. The four of them seemed not to expect my return and were surprised. I came with the real estate agent. Lucy? Who is that man behind you? Alex asked, pointing to the man behind me. Before I could say anything, Kate exclaimed, "Isn't that sister-in-law's new partner? Brother, this is infidelity. Let's make her support us financially." In the midst of everyone thinking Alex and I are still married, I've lost all patience with Kate, who, despite having introduced Alex to a new lover, is now making a fuss demanding money. Amidst this, the real estate agent handed a business card to my father-in-law and greeted him. Looking at the card, my father-in-law wondered, "Why is someone from real estate here?" The agent replied, "To appraise the value of this house." My in-laws exchanged glances and started laughing. "We plan to continue living here, so no appraisal is needed." However, the agent clearly stated, "Actually, this house is in Lucy's name. She wishes to sell it, so we are proceeding with the sale." Upon hearing this, my in-laws showed expressions of surprise, seemingly unaware of this fact. Perhaps Alex hadn't accurately conveyed this information. Alex said he would explain the details himself, so I left it alone. However, from my in-laws' attitude, it was clear that they had not received this information. They seemed to think I was just a burden and that Alex was supporting me by buying this house. So, I planned to explain the truth about the house's ownership and financial aspects to Alex and his parents if the situation didn't improve after a while. However, before I could explain, Alex's sister Kate appeared and kicked me out of the house as the owner. Therefore, I judged that dialogue with this in-law family became difficult and decided to take direct action. That action was to find a new home for myself, complete the move, and then promptly sell this house. Alex seemed to take Kate's words at face value and was complacent, thinking I wouldn't divorce. Seeing Alex's surprised face, I sighed inwardly. Since I, the owner, was kicked out of this house, it makes sense to sell it. It might be, but this residence is mine as well, and since we're married, it's also yours. Right now, my parents and sister are living here too. So what? Whether you or your family are here, it's irrelevant to me. Besides, we divorced quite some time ago. You signed the divorce papers, right? I submitted them to the city hall immediately. At my words, Alex seemed shocked and said, "What?" He seemed to think the divorce papers were just a threat. Disappointed, I sighed again. Then Kate started accusing, "Such an unforgivable woman. This she-devil, using my brother's money to get the house and then putting it in your name. I wonder who she thinks is the cause of this situation." I stared at Kate. "Your beloved brother actually doesn't have any money. He's working, but all his income goes to repaying borrowed money. Why does my brother have debts? Isn't that because he paid your living expenses?" Kate had been married 3 times, but 2 of them ended due to her infidelity. Each time she would say, "Please keep it a secret from my parents. I don't have the funds, so help me," and Alex would comply with her unreasonable requests. At first, I didn't notice, but then I discovered that the savings we were supposed to be building together had significantly decreased and confronted Alex about it. It turned out that Alex had been giving living expenses to his sister Kate without telling me. Despite this, I resolved the house payments using my own savings. I was beyond surprised and felt utter disdain for him for giving his sister such amount of money. Even if he said he would pay back the money in the future, I could no longer trust his word. I hired a lawyer. It was to recover our joint savings that he had squandered. Before I could share this fact, his parents, learning about their daughter's infidelity, exploded in anger. All her past divorces, she said they were due to personality clashes. To think Kate was unfaithful. Such a dirty child. We didn't raise our children to be adulterers. Wait, Mom, Dad, it's just Lucy talking nonsense. This isn't true. perhaps feeling disadvantaged in this situation. Even Alex, who doted on Kate so much, exclaimed, "It's all your fault. Because of all the money I gave to you to support your life, I ended up in debt, and because of you, Lucy and I had to divorce." Hearing this, I said, "Is it really all Kate's fault? It was your decision to suddenly bring your parents to my house, wasn't it? It was you who collaborated with your family to label me a wicked wife. And to think, just because your sister is your favorite, you plan to drive me out of the house, eventually leaving me to live on the streets? That's ridiculous." He tried to cling to my leg, but I kicked him away. "I'll be getting back all the money I paid on your behalf. Prepare yourself, I'm coming with my lawyer tomorrow." With that, I left the house. While we were talking, the house valuation was completed. Fortunately, it looks like the house will be sold as I hoped. The next day, when I showed up with my lawyer and explained the list of expenses he had wasted, his parents, looking at it seriously, said so much money existed, yet because of Kate's actions. They glared sternly at Kate, who was at the corner of the room. It seems his parents came to the house believing Alex's words about taking care of things from now on. But Alex's lies and Kate's adulterous actions had destabilized their retirement life, and they were furious. Alex incurred additional debt. After that, he was immediately kicked out of the house and ended up living in a simple apartment with his family. Kate, facing condemnation from her family, decided to live with her husband for a while and gave birth. However, since the child's hair color was clearly not her husband's, she was kicked out of that house as well. It was difficult for Kate to raise her child properly, and the child was placed in an institution. Kate, with nowhere to go, seemed to have no choice but to return to her condemning family. It seems she is still being asked for money by Alex, but I am free. I am enjoying my independent life and considering trying something new in the future.